watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Technology, shortages, and consumer demands have really shaped much of today's retail automotive landscape. As we begin the third quarter and look ahead at the remainder of the year, are we expected to see more of the same, or will industry disruptors shift things a little bit? On today's show, we are joined by the President and CEO of Auto Forecast Solutions, Joe McCabe, to tell us what he can expect and what we can expect in the industry. So, Joe, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us here on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jim.
Sure. It seems as though things are getting back to normal, if there is such a term we could use in retail automotive. But from your standpoint, where do things stand with regard to supply chain shortages? I mean, we've gone through the semiconductor and the chip shortage and labor and logistics, and where do we stand today?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're much better than we were last year and the previous year. We're not out of any woods by far. The semiconductor issue is still an issue. When the semiconductor chip issue arose, and we've been tracking it weekly since the beginning of 2021, it was a nice way to hide problems. Hey, that's the chip people, that's not us. And then all of a sudden the chips became better. Now there's more light shined on. Yes, there's an issue still with supply. There's a still issue with logistics. The new thing we're going to hear about is rail movement, about getting things from point A to point B, getting it from the manufacturer, from the facilities to the dealerships. So we're not out of any woods. We're just looking at a different set of woods, let's call it, going forward.
Sure.
But we're still here. We have a recovery path. It's a slow recovery path for our outlook, but it's because of the changing landscape in the production, as well as the consumer sentiment coming forward.
Well, since you brought up production, let's talk about that. Can you give us an overview of North American production right now?
Yeah, so let's frame a little bit. Back in 2016 was the best North American production we ever had, 17.8 million vehicles, light vehicles, regular cars, not Class 8 semis and things like that. Since then, we've had that was the peak, and that has since come down. COVID hit, and now we're getting out of that woods. We are at 15.65 million right now for this year. We have a slow recovery, not getting back to the 17 million mark till about 24 timeframe. And we never get back to the high water mark of 2016. And that's not a bad thing. Better utilization capacity, more build where you sell. But with the electrification coming in and the Teslas of the world and how dealership networks are changing for legacy players versus new entrants, the whole game has changed. At the end of the day, you got to remind yourself, vehicle manufacturers have one customer, and that is the shareholder. So shareholder value always has to be optimized. And that is about more profit per vehicle. And to get more profit per vehicle might mean selling less vehicles at a higher margin.
That's right.
Get the same results. So we're seeing that happen now. We're going to see that for a good term going forward, because it's really going to change the dynamic of their revenue streams.
And today's dealers like the sound of that, because they've come off 3 years of just that. Lower shortages, lower overhead in terms of manpower, as well as floor plan interest rates. And then consumers coming in willing to pay sticker price plus for a vehicle that they got to wait maybe 2 or 3 weeks on, right?
100%. Yeah, COVID has taught us one thing: how to wait. Even my Prime subscription is 24 hours anymore. It's 72 hours, right? We've all learned how to wait. So we have no problem now going in and saying, I'm going to order the vehicle I want. I will wait a couple weeks to get it. I may wait months to get it, but I'm going to pay sticker. And sometimes every car is marked up on the dealership now with a market adjustment, they like to call it. But this is an issue where if they could say, wow, I can make less. I have less warranty issues. I have less vehicles to insure on the lots, to keep clean, to move the tires around, and all that. I'm competing. I'm a legacy player. I'm competing about the Teslas and the Rivians of the world that don't need a dealership.
That's right.
That overhead is completely profit for them right now. So the manufacturers are trying to shift the dealership network to say, look, I'm going to change how you make money. We're going to move to subscription-based services. We're going to move to over-the-air updates. We're going to find a way to make you a center of electrification in the long term.
That's right.
Smaller footprint. You're going to still do well. Right now, we argue what well really means in the future in terms of financials, and then it's going to change the model, because all these new entrants have convinced the people that new players can enter the market and be successful entering that market.
That's right. That's right. And are you referring to the direct-to-consumer approach when you say that?
100%, right? No one will believe that Tesla would exist. I don't believe there's another Tesla out there. They're the Apple of automotive. There's not going to be another one. Everyone's fighting to be that piece. Now they're all partnering with Tesla to use their charging systems. They realize that we have to play by the same set of rules to
Sure.
get past range anxiety and cost and mineral issues and a whole litany of things that are driving this EV space. So,
Right.
yeah, this idea of direct to consumer, most of the time you walk in a dealership, unfortunately, the consumer is more educated than the salesperson they're working with because they've done all their homework already.
That's right. That's right. Have we hurt ourselves in the industry over the last 100 years in the sense that most people think that, it's not a pleasurable experience purchasing a new car from today's dealer, and that maybe the direct to consumer is the way they want to go?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me this question 15 years ago, I'd say that, look, that's the deal we've made with how it works. But when the Teslas of the world come in and say, hey, there is another model out there,
Right.
then yes, it is forcing that change of thoughts and process on their business plans.
That's right.
We didn't do ourselves a disservice. We just found that other things do work. And our eyes are wide open on that, and now people have to adjust accordingly to get that new consumer in their dealers.
Sure. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about electrification. This seems to be, I talk to dealers all over the country here at CBT News every week, and some of the dealers are all in. They're like, yep, we're going EV, we're ready, we retrofitted our dealerships, we got charging stations, we got speed charging stations, it's an EV future. And others are like, yeah, not so fast. Maybe we're in the outskirts of Chicago or Illinois, or maybe some farmland, or maybe it's a flyover state, or we're not in San Francisco, or maybe the East Coast in New York or something, and we're not feeling it. We are consumers, and we still think that the combustion engine is alive and well, and it's got a lot of runway. Where is all of this headed? You've got consumers that are standing on the sideline in many cases. You've got dealers that are unsure of it, although it looks like every manufacturer is saying, no, you're selling an EV in the future.
Look, it's a money grab right this second. Electrification would not exist if not for government subsidy and punishment. So the carrot and the stick approach, if that was only on the consumer side, I really don't think electrification would take off. There are certain manufacturers that were sort of caught, their hand was caught in a cookie jar about how they were playing around with different fuel types in vehicles. We were talking lightweighting 15 years ago. Hey, that's the best way of getting there. Let's use more aluminum and carbon fiber because we'll just take weight out and that's going to help it. And now here comes electrification. Look, I do not subscribe to we're all electrified in our lifetime. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It is nice to hit targets. It is here to stay. The manufacturer not targeting you and I, they're targeting our kids and our grandkids. They like the conversation we're having of, hey, there's no way it's going to work. There's a gas station every corner, because the more we can sort of hold off on our acceptance, the better chance they have of doing a long-term win.
Yeah.
If everyone tomorrow woke up and said, hey, EVs here, they don't exist. Unless you want a Tesla, there really is not volume of any other vehicle out there that exists today.
Yeah.
Electrification space. We are years away. GM's target of 100% by 35, they know that's not reality, but they're growing. It's a great thing.
Sure.
They're making investments in their diesel programs as we speak, and their trucks. They know you can't, electrify all the pickup trucks in the world because that's not going to be a good business model.
Right.
So we think there's going to be a symbiotic relationship between ICE, internal combustion engine, and electrification. And that electrification does not have to be wholesale battery electric. It can be hybridization in there.
Yeah.
We look at Toyota. Toyota is a company that wants to be here for 500 years. They never believed in electrification,
Right.
but they admitted they missed the boat.
Yeah.
And they have to sort of say, yeah, we got to put more in it. They're not throwing everything at it. They're looking at fuel cells 20 years from now, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is how we're going to make money, how we're going to get consumers in every 7 years to get in there, buy a new vehicle. If you electrify everyone right now, we got a problem. Doesn't exist, and they're too darn expensive.
Well,
but it's here to stay.
That's right. Since you went there, they are expensive. The average price of a used car is just under $50,000 right now. Where is all of this going? Whether it be an ICE vehicle or whether it be an EV, it costs a lot to buy a car. And this also comes at a time that interest rates are up, gas prices are up. The economy is a little bit shaky right now. If you ask most people, what does this spell for the auto industry moving forward as we get into the second half of 2023?
Yeah, look, I'm a forecasting company, and the best word I like is disruption, because disruption means every single day something's brand new. We're all telling a new story based on new intel, and this is massive disruption. This isn't just, when we had the global recession, all the same players went in the recession that came out the recession. There was really no electrification. Everyone had the same powertrains. Now we have a new set of playing fields that manufacturers get to play by different rules depending on how you're approaching this market. So I agree with you. When interest rates were nothing, then 96-month terms seemed to be a norm, right?
Yeah.
84 and 72 was crazy. We're averaging, what, 72, 84 at that time.
That's right.
Now interest rates like, wait a second, maybe I can't play that spread the money over more time situation.
That's right.
So that, I think, is a big issue. Yes, the economy, I think, is not in a very well position right now. We have a lot of break points. Look, we're not even throwing the idea that Q4 this year in North America, both the UAW and Unifor, which is the Canadian labor organization, are negotiating at the same time. They're usually an offset year.
Yeah.
We are predicting a potential nuclear event in Q4, like we had in 19, where GM or Ford shut down for 6 weeks. And now we're back where we started.
Yeah.
That growth has now screeched to a halt. So there's a lot of pain points. It's not just the economy and the number. I personally know where all the money's coming from. I mean, I argue the fact that I wouldn't buy a $1,000 iPhone, but I pay $30 a month for it. Well, still $1,000 at the end of the day.
That's right.
Right. So that Netflix model does hold water. If we can get subscription based, if we can get people in their wallets every month, not every 7 years, okay. That's going to have change. That's a long time coming. Right. But I think we're in a huge transition now and for the next 3 to 4 years about how this market's going to play out.
Yeah. Since you're in the forecast business, what are you forecasting for 2023? Are we going to finish strong? Are we going to have a good year overall?
Yeah, strong in terms of as compared to the last 2 years.
Okay.
We're in a growth path. We are sort of being cautiously optimistic about that nuclear event in Q4 with the strikes. I think their labor is going to change their strategy and go after suppliers and strangle the supplier, which then ultimately strangles manufacturing output, not go directly to the vehicle manufacturers at the end of the day.
Okay.
But they have different strategies they've used in the past. So we are on a growth path as of the last 2 years. But again, we're not going to all of a sudden wake up on January 1st and say, hey, wow, the world's changed. We're back to square one. We are not going to be back to this 17.5 million units, building at all this high capacity. We're going to see much more different mixes of vehicles coming out because they're really trying to put billions of dollars in the electrification bucket, yet survive on the ICE money, internal combustion engine money at the same time. Yeah. That's going to be a very difficult balance to accomplish.
That's right. That's right. And if there is this nuclear bomb that goes off here at the end of the year, and it does affect the supply of new cars, dealers are going to pivot and they're going to sell used cars like we saw, in the last couple of years, and used car prices will shoot up, so will gross profits. I mean, it could be deja vu all over again, just for a different reason, right?
Right.
Yeah, no question about it. Joe McCabe, President and CEO of Auto Forecast Solutions. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is I think it's your first visit into CBT News, so thanks for spending some time with us, and hopefully it's not your last. This has been great. Thank you so much.
Great conversation. Thanks, Jim. My pleasure.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.